Hello and welcome to another edition of the AfCFTA podcast. We appreciate you always coming and watching and enjoying our programs. We also appreciate the fact that you also share it with your colleagues. And if you haven't been sharing, we encourage you to continue to do so. Like it, share it across the continent, because this is the platform for continental trading. If you want to know every and anything about trading on the continent of Africa, you can't turn anywhere. If you want to know all the activities around the AfCFTA, which countries are trading, which countries are on board the Pan-African payment and settlement systems, for instance, where you can make easy payment across the countries on the continent of Africa, this is the platform. All the authentic information that you need to know about AfCFTA emanates from this platform, and we encourage you to continue to be watching and be sharing it. Share it to your global audience. Share it with your organizations, partners, or the big institutions across the world, because Africa is trading. And here we tell you all the stories about Africa trading. We have been talking, and in the past episodes, we've been engaging individuals who are leading the frontiers of trade on the continent of Africa and ensuring that this dream and vision of the continent to have a single continental market indeed comes to reality and fruition. Today, we are privileged to have one such individual, very important person who has dedicated his life to ensure that we are able to trade on the continent of Africa and make payment easier on the continent of Africa. Through his leadership, we are seeing a number of Africans being able to make payments across countries with ease using our own banking systems. Our commercial banks are making this happen. And today we are privileged to be joined by this individual. That is Mr. Mike Ogbalu, the Chief Executive Officer of Pan-African Payment and Settlement Systems. We don't often grab him here at the Secretariat, particularly in this studio, but today we are fortunate to be joined by Mr. Mike Ogbalu. Welcome, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
And it's a pleasure to hijack you this time around in our studio. Quite often we meet you across the continent, engaging and doing your usual work, ensuring that the continent is able to trade and make payments across borders and all of that. But how has that been for you? I mean, you move almost every country to make sure that people can pay for goods and services without hassle. How is that going, though?
Let me start first by thanking you for this opportunity and thanking you for being that credible voice on the continent talking about trade. And I'm hoping that, we'll have much more credible voices, but you have been a pivotal advocate in our journey. It's been an interesting period, and we have gone through the phase of infancy, and now we are at that acceleration stage. Over the past 3+ years, we have grown our numbers, our countries of adoption to 20. And we currently have expectations that the two big francophone central banks in West and Central Africa will be on board on PAPSS, hopefully before the end of the year. I know.
Which countries are these, though?
Well, so I'm talking about the francophone West African Central Bank,
Okay.
BCAO. And the Francophone Central African Central Bank, BIAC.
Okay.
So that will add an additional 14 countries to our network of countries, and therefore we're getting close to achieving our goals to cover the continent.
Good.
We currently have about 160 commercial banks, and these are 160 of the largest commercial banks on our network. We also have about 14 switches, with about 7 of them being national switches from multiple countries who are connecting to our network. And we have also begun to see over 2,000% growth measured against last year. And therefore, we are very, very appreciative that we're making those impacts.
Great.
We're also beginning to see how our offerings is beginning to change the landscape for trade on the African continent. So we have, and I'll just give a few quick examples.
Please.
You have a small trader who typically travels to Dakar to buy Senegalese materials to sell in Nigeria. He says that it takes him a few days to confirm payment. He used to carry a lot of cash across the borders. Then he started trying to use the banks, and it took him a few days. But now he's using PAPSS, and he's able to make payments, and the payments are concluded in about 7 seconds. And in those 7 seconds, we go through all the compliance, AML, and sanction screening checks, and the money arrives at his seller's bank account, and he gets an alert. So what that does is the time that he typically would have spent trying to confirm payments now is more time for him to turn around his inventories.
For these success stories that you are recounting for us, what would you say PAPSS was created to solve?
We have, by some estimates, about 70% of the available arable land now on the planet, uncultivated. Is it from some of our agricultural produce? 70% of the cocoa consumed globally is produced here in Africa. So, but what you have found is that with all of these blessings, Africa still is a beggarly continent, which is really sad. And our intra-African trade, exactly, still very much dependent. Our intra-Africa trade stands at about between 15 and 18%, depending on which statistics you're looking at. And we need to be able to, the route to the prosperity of the continent is through trade. The more we trade, the more we increase. Just to give you an example, you can take any value chain. You can take cocoa. If you take cocoa from the farm to the teacup, you find that the African countries producing this cocoa barely appropriate 5% of the value of cocoa. So we sell our cocoa raw outside, and we are not able to appropriate the value. Part of not appropriating the value is that we have not added extra value to our produce, but more importantly, what happens is that that value added produce, other African countries go outside of the continent to go buy this produce. Now, if you take cocoa, if you sell it as beans, you get one stream of income. If you sell it semi-processed, you get 2 streams of income. You create more jobs processing the cocoa, and therefore you are able to appropriate more of the value. So if you look at the cocoa value chain, you have major global multinationals who appropriate as much as 60% of the value of cocoa. Africa is able to actually have these values internally. Now, when you do that, it will enhance the amount of trade. Therefore, someone trying to buy processed or semi-processed cocoa will not need to go outside of the continent to buy it. So it increases trade. But with the increase of trade, you need a payment system that is fit for purpose. If you have a situation where Africa's trade is dependent on a payment system that is not controlled by it, that is not fit for purpose, you have a situation where every time we trade, sometimes people are able to determine to say, we do not want this African country to trade. Now, trade does not happen without payments. So what we have done is to build a world-class payment system. This payment system can stand its own against any payment system anywhere in the world. It has a system built in line with the principles for financial market infrastructure. It has coupled to it some of the best-in-class AML sanction screening and fraud management systems. It has its own dispute management mechanism. It is oversighted by a college of central banks, African central banks. So we have built it in such a way that it meets global standards, but it is controlled by Africa's central banks. Now, this payment system means that even if a decision will be made around which country can transact or will not transact, it will be made here on the African continent.
Yeah.
So we're actually taking the control and handing it back to Africa.
Good.
We've also done it in such a way that the total cost of this payment is significantly lower than if the payment had to travel halfway around the world to a place like New York before coming back
to the continent.
To the continent. So we've made it instant, so it deals with the issue of speed. We've made it affordable, therefore it deals with the issues of allowing more people to be able to use the system, because when you are looking at a system that should power businesses of the poor or the small and medium scale enterprises, then you have to price it appropriately so that it is affordable. So what we've done is to take all the key pain points for cross-border payments, and we have now addressed it with the infrastructure that we have built. So today, you can originate a transaction from a wallet in one part of Africa, and you can terminate it on an account or even a wallet in the second market in their local currency. This has significantly reduced Africa's dependence on the FX. Now, the way the PAPSS system works is that it's able to settle those transactions in each of their local currencies. However, where there is a difference, then both parties, we can agree how the difference is settled. But when you look at the differences, they're about maybe in some markets, some corridors, maybe 15%, 20%, as against their requirement of 100% to settle with FX in the past.
Okay.
Now, we're also now looking at other systems that will even further, make it easy for countries to trade with each other, leveraging the PAPSS system. Okay. And I'll speak to some of the other products that we have created, that we have built beyond just the instant payment system.
Okay, but so before you speak to some of those ones now, the last time that I got the chance to speak with you, we had the WAMSI countries that had commenced the piloting, and you recounted some of the successes from that time. Can you tell us the total number of countries that are on board PAPSS? Which countries, for instance, across the 6 regions of the continent that are on board PAPSS, and what are the testimonies so far?
Okay, and I'll start with the WAMSI countries, which is where we started.
And they began, okay.
Absolutely. You recall that following the endorsement of African heads of state, and they asked us to run a pilot in a region that has both the complexity that we expect to see on the larger African continent.
Okay.
So 6 countries, 5 Anglophone, 1 Francophone, 6 different currencies, 6 different central banks.
I see.
Okay. And then you had countries that had very matured payment systems, such as Nigeria and Ghana, and you have other countries that didn't have as matured payment systems.
Like which ones?
So we needed to show that the payment system is able to work across both the matured payment environment and the less matured payment environment.
Okay.
So that was Nigeria, Ghana, Gambia, Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia.
These are the West African monetary
zone countries. Then we have 3 countries in the Southern African region. You have Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Malawi. We have in East Africa, we have Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi. We have Djibouti, we have Uganda. In North Africa, we have Egypt, we have Algeria, we have Morocco, and in total we have 20 countries.
20 countries, that's fine. It's
we have Comoros
it's
as
difficult
well,
to sometimes recall.
and a few others. Now, some of the key progress that we have made is one of the design principles of PAPSS is that it is not designed to cannibalize existing payment systems.
Okay.
So
That means what?
even if we can, for example, I can decide to price the service of PAPSS at zero or near zero. But zero is not good for the ecosystem because you destroy the value proposition of other people in the payments ecosystem. Yeah, so it might look like you are giving value back to the market, but there is beauty in actually creating an ecosystem that promotes competition.
Yeah.
So what we've done is to price it as low as possible without destroying the value proposition of other players that are in the space. Okay, so we have now signed and we're currently working on integrating with the commercial reps payment system. We're integrating with Buna in North Africa, and we are also integrating with other payment systems across the region. Another thing that has changed now is when we started out, our focus was on connecting commercial banks. We have gone live with a number of fintechs, and these fintechs will further democratize that value that we have built centrally and be able to take it into wallet systems and other people who are able to leverage our infrastructure.
Good.
So beyond just accelerating the growth of transactions, growing of our network, we're actually now connecting to regional systems and powering other parts of the continent, leveraging our integration with other players. Finally, in terms of updates, we were selected to support the building of the equivalent of PAPSS for the Caribbean community. So right now we've just finished our proof of concept, and we are now doing a pilot with the Caribbean community where we are going to replicate what we've done in Africa in the Caribbean region and then connect to those two systems. That way we can truly create a bridge that connects continental Africa with the rest of Africa's diaspora. We've also received interest from a number of the other global payment systems to interconnect with PAPSS, and we look forward.
For these minds, what would you say to them? One, the ordinary small and medium enterprise doing basic works on the continent. Somebody has bought something in Ethiopia, bought beets or bought shea butter in Ethiopia from West Africa. Somebody has bought cowhide from Kenya in West Africa, and thinking of how they can make payments. But they don't believe that PAPSS is for them. They think maybe PAPSS is for the elite, PAPSS is up there. They don't understand it. What would you tell small and medium enterprises in this regard, and private individuals, private businesses in particular?
Okay, and this project is sort of akin to building a car and driving it at the same time. You know, we're trying to do something that hasn't been done anywhere before. And again, it will be, looking at it, for example, comparing it with your standard payment system. You start in one market, you achieve scale in one market, then you scale out.
Yeah.
But what we are trying to do is actually connect 20 different countries at the same time and grow scale in those markets. Our initial route was to work with our partner banks, okay, and work with them to drive the awareness. If these SMEs are already their customers, then they will bring those customers onto the network. But there's been sort of like a pivot in the way that we look at these engagements. So beyond just expecting our partners, we are now reaching further down
Yourselves.
as ourselves, not to say come to PAPSS, because PAPSS is a model built on partnership with all those last mile service providers. So what we are now doing is actually letting them know that the services are available through their preferred service providers in their local market. So we are reaching down to support the drive to make that awareness much more deeper in each of the markets. So that model, we think, from our estimation, we're already seeing some value coming out of that.
Good.
But as we go into 2026, that will actually be the fulcrum of how we drive awareness and adoption in the market. Using this platform that you have, I want to say that PAPSS is able to support from the smallest trader up to the biggest trader. We're like a toll gate that allows big cars, small cars, fast cars, slow cars to be able to pass through. So the infrastructure that we have built is robust enough to support all these different types of players. And we welcome the SMEs. Walk into your bank or your wallet provider or whoever provides you your financial service and ask to use the PAPSS to be able to make your cross-border payments.
Good.
And also, we're open to, we are going to be launching a focus group in January where we'll be able to have some of these traders in the room to once again recalibrate our understanding of their pain points and to listen to them and see how we can tweak our offering to better meet their needs.
Yeah. And in Ghana, for instance, I see a number of commercial banks already displaying and advertising the use of PAPSS in some of these countries and in the commercial banks. What are the testimonies from the banks, specific testimonies from the banks that you are hearing regarding usage of PAPSS?
Okay. So I'll share just two. One is that a local Ghanaian bank did say to me that before PAPSS, they struggled to have the rails to be able to send monies across in a way that promotes Pan-African businesses to leverage them as their customers.
Yeah.
And they did say to me that those privileges accrued only to some of the bigger Pan-African banks. But with PAPSS now, they're able to actually get their customers to leverage them, knowing that they now have that same type of Pan-African reach.
Great.
Okay. And for the big banks who already have this large Pan-African reach, they're able to even further extend their network. So, for example, if they were able to move monies between their branches, now they're able to move not just between their branches, but even beyond their branch network because they are connected to PAPSS. Okay, so they are beginning to see, one, an increased ability to bank large Pan-African businesses. They are beginning to see an increasing ability to actually enable things like fintechs. What you find, for example, commercial banks participate in settlements on behalf of a lot of fintechs. The fastest growing area now is that commercial banks are now playing that role of bringing fintechs to the PAPSS network, which is enhancing them from a profitability standpoint. It is also increasing their relevance in multiple markets, to be able to support those businesses. So we are seeing how this is actually impacting positively the bottom lines of the commercial bank. And nothing incentivizes more than when you can actually see that this is contributing to
Yeah.
your bottom line.
Yeah.
So before we had to say, oh, please go advertise, oh, do this, oh, do that. But the more they are seeing it coming to their bottom
They
line,
themselves are giving the
they
testimonies.
don't even need
Yeah.
anybody to beg them
Yeah.
to communicate and to advertise.
That's great. And for an entrepreneur or an SME who is doubting the quality of the product of your offering, the product that you're offering out there, and wondering how they can make faster payments. How fast is PAPSS, and what would you say to such an SME wondering whether, okay, but my partner in Nigeria needs this very quickly, I need to send it there. How can you assure such an entrepreneur to rely on PAPSS?
So we also did a few studies at some of the major borders in Africa. The amount that is lost to theft, by these business people is quite substantial. And what is the issue? Those small businesses, they are not very documentation ready, and you find them having to carry a lot of cash. Now, what PAPSS has done is actually simplify the process, and bring an offering that is as close to cash as possible. When you successfully carry cash across the borders, you are carrying, it's sort of instant. You pay what immediately you are there, and you do not have to pay any additional fee. So by significantly lowering the costs and making it instant, we are beginning to see the attraction of those people who typically
Would have carried cash
across the border.
Yeah.
So PAPSS has made payments seamless, and with the extension to digital channels, each bank that adopts digital channel, we see several multiples of their transaction in just a space of 1 month. Okay. And the interesting thing about moving to digital channels, you don't really need to teach your customers what to do for some reason. When you are dealing with just bank branch, you have to do trainings for the tellers and so on. But once you just put it in your digital channels and the customers can see it, it is typically intuitive enough for them to teach themselves how to utilize it. So my message to these traders is it is indeed working, and the people who have now built their businesses leveraging PAPSS are testimonies to the fact that it can work for everyone.
Great.
But my advocacy is that we now need to drive. We have a lot of work to do to increase the awareness and to increase the adoption. True. But I'm saying don't stand at the sidelines. Join this journey with your bank, with your mobile wallet provider. Insist on them also connecting to PAPSS, and you will see how that can transform your business. Today, we committed to the market that transactions will be done in a maximum of 120 seconds. But since we went live, we've been processing transactions in an average of about 7 seconds.
Very interesting.
So in 7 seconds, and I put this as a challenge to people to show me how many payment systems around the world who are able to process cross-border payments and have it completed in 7 seconds. And between those 7 seconds, all our governance, risk, and control systems would have done their work to make sure that that transaction, when it is delivered, has the integrity of a cross-border payment, of a global standard payment system processing a transaction going from one market to the other.
Great. I'm interested in how you've come to this, how far you've come, how the partnership, the collaboration that has gotten you here. And I'm interested in your partnership with the AfCFTA Secretariat, and of course coming from AfriExim Bank. How has this partnership helped? And with AfCFTA, the vision of the continent integrating its continental market and having a secretariat that is driving this. How has that propelled this vision that you are pushing and this innovation that you've brought?
I cannot call the AfCFTA a partner. They are much more than a partner. PAPSS is an initiative of three key promoters. The AfRexim Bank, the AfCFTA Secretariat, and the African Union Commission. So PAPSS is actually a product of these three people.
A baby of these three.
Three people collaborating to deliver this. We see our relationship as being very symbiotic. We couldn't have gotten where we are without the support of the AfCFTA, and we believe that at full scale, PAPSS will be a prime driver of the AfCFTA.
Yeah.
So we've had a very, especially with the support of His Excellency Ambassador Wamkele Mene, who has been a significant champion for PAPSS, has supported us in opening up a number of markets, and has, when you hear him talk about PAPSS, I wish...
Very passionately.
I wish I could have him speak about PAPSS, everywhere, but he's been a champion, and he has supported us very massively to get where we are.
Yeah. Now let's talk as we wrap up. Let's talk about your vision, the long-term vision you have for PAPSS. If you want to look into the future, let's say 5 years from now, what do you hope to see with PAPSS?
I'm hoping that 80% of commercial payments on the continent will be processed through PAPSS.
Within the next 5 years?
Yes. Actually,
or less.
Hopefully less. I'm hoping that at least 80% of the entire continent will be fully covered. And I'm hoping that 80% of all the ecosystems that exist on the continent will either directly or indirectly process their transactions through PAPSS.
I sometimes wonder, and I believe a lot of people, because I heard in Nigeria, for instance, when you spoke at IATF, somebody said, I saw him yesterday here, I saw him there. What do you do when you're not talking payments on the continent of Africa? Is that all your life, or do you have some other life that people are not aware of? This is on a lighter side, though.
So I'll speak to three things. When I'm not working, if you ask what I would like to do, I'd like to stay home.
Really?
And just, get to spend a bit of time with the family. So that is one thing that I look forward to a lot. Secondly, when I travel into different markets, I have a very large following on LinkedIn, and a number of them are very young people. I like to actually invite a few of them to have lunch with me.
That's interesting.
And really just to hear their stories and to see how, what their thoughts are about our continent.
Good.
And where the continent is heading, to see it from their own lenses. So that's something that I enjoy. The third thing, which I enjoy very much, is meeting with a lot of tech providers, and discussing their ideas, and possibly trying to see how I get excited about ideas and how I can help people birth their ideas. One last thing which is very close to my heart is, being able to give back. And I do this in different ways. I speak to a number of organizations outside of work, just to speak about things that I'm passionate about family. So those are things that I enjoy. I also enjoy volunteering when I can. Yeah, but time. I hardly have enough time these days.
I was even going to say that, I mean, out of the four things that you have listed, it sounds to me that they are work on their own, engaging young people, engaging fintech and all of that. It means that you're always devoted, impacting, and you're impacting either the continent payment system, or you're impacting in the lives of young people, impacting in the lives of your family. That's very impressive. Do you do sports? Do you have any casual activities going on? You do sports? Your stature, actually.
I do a bit of sports, but
not a professional one.
I was never good in sports,
Okay.
but I use the gym a lot.
All right.
To stay fit. If you keep the kind of schedule, you know that if you don't find a way to keep yourself fit, then you could get into some other set of challenges.
Yeah.
So I try I'm not very disciplined with it, but I try a lot to work out and to keep healthy.
And Nigeria has a very big creative industry. Again, the creative market in Nigeria is huge. I mean, a lot of the continent rely and enjoy the creativity coming from Nigeria, the movies, the fashion industry, the music, and all of that. Are you into any of them? You enjoy any of them? You make time for any of the movies, music here and there?
So I have an embarrassing story to tell around movies.
I see.
It's almost like my sleeping tablet. So when we go out to watch movies,
that's when you sleep. You fall
always
asleep.
End up sleeping. But I do enjoy Nigerian music.
Good.
I enjoy music of different types.
Yeah.
I like some classical music. I like jazz. I like Afrobeat, of course, from the Don Jazzies to the Davidos, from the Banj, my friend, to some of the other newer artists. So I enjoy, I listen to all sorts. Sarkodie.
Sarkodie in Ghana.
Sarkodie in Ghana. And a whole lot.
Good.
I also definitely listen to the likes of Nathaniel Bassey, and who give you a bit more of the spiritual upliftment. Yeah,
The gospel music.
absolutely.
But do you look back to some of the oldies, the Shino Peters, the Fela Kuti, and all of
I
those?
wish I could show you my playlist.
The collection
I'm
is
actually
is-
an oldies guy.
Good,
so
good.
I still have quite a bit of
Yeah,
oldies.
good.
And I use my playlists for my working out. And I was discussing with a young guy, and he says to me, "Oh, Mike, if you play a lot of music when you work out, why don't you publish your top 10 gym songs every year?" I said, "Oh, okay."
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I said, "Why don't you work on that?" So I use music a lot when I drive. I like to drive. Oh, yeah, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
I like to drive. I don't have a problem with driving long distances, so I used to enjoy driving quite a bit.
Yeah. And this is how we ended. What message is growing in terms of digital? Some of the songs that we're talking about, a lot of musicians and creatives are now earning a lot of monies online. A lot of services are provided online. These legal and health services across the continent have been even provided online. And you leading a lot of online payments and yourself even enjoying some of these services online and all of that. What would you say to the continent and the future of the continent as far as online, digital, fast payment on the continent is concerned?
So that's an interesting question. What we did was to say, let us build a payment system that anticipates that a lot of value exchanges in the future will be digital, and because they will be digital, you need a payment system that can also meet those digital needs. We're looking and we're talking to a number of intellectual property content providers and looking at how we can leverage the infrastructure that we have built to allow creatives to appropriate more value for those contents that they have created. We're looking at how, and we're experimenting with a number of things around blockchains, we're looking at stable coins and tokenization and so on and so forth, where we're able to integrate smart contracts into payments. So we have that future in our view, and we continue to listen to a lot of people in these industries, because the one thing I've learned being an engineer, don't design just what you would like to build, but design what adds value to the people that you are building it for. Whatever it is that you do, we want this payment system to give you that push, that extra push, to be able to succeed.
Good. And we have come, AfCFTA Secretariat, and this platform. In the past, we used to interview you at different platforms and all of that. Now this is official. We have also come online. We have also come digital. And you have a lot of following, as you mentioned, LinkedIn and all of that. Now that we're online and we want people to be watching us online and listen to what's coming from the AfCFTA, and you in particular engage you quite often, what would you tell your following? We want them to also follow us online, and digitally. What would you tell them for us?
Absolutely. This is a credible platform. This is a platform that, whose aspirations align with our aspirations as Africans. And therefore, this gives us a platform to be able to tell our stories. And I would definitely ask the audience to click, to subscribe, to follow. Good. I hope that's how they say that.
That's how they say. You are fine. You are totally fine. It shows that you are up to the game, the digital game.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you, and we appreciate the work that you're doing, Mr. Ogbalu. The continent appreciates you. The AfCFTA Secretariat appreciates you, and the people themselves. There's never been the best time to trade with the infrastructure that you and your team and your partners are putting together. We say thank you.
Thank you very much.
And
Thanks
you for coming.
having me.
Thank you very much.